Okay, have you ever been in a meeting, staring at a slide deck that's just packed with buzzwords, and you're sitting there thinking, what are we actually doing here? Yeah, you are not alone. So today, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're going to demystify the word strategy, using the incredible framework from Richard Rumelt's book, Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. And we'll kick things off by looking at what so many companies get wrong.
So take a look at this. This is a real vision statement from NEC. It's got all the right words, right? Leading global company, leveraging innovation, friendly to humans and the earth. It sounds pretty good, pretty impressive on the surface.
But let's be honest for a second. Does this kind of corporate speak sound familiar? I bet it does. It's the kind of high-level fluff that gets plastered all over annual reports and company offsites. It's a wish list. It's not a plan. And more often than not, it's a huge red flag that there's no real strategy at all.
And this gets us to a massive problem that you see everywhere, way beyond just business. Let's call it the strategy delusion. We have all become so used to hearing this kind of language that we've kind of forgotten what a real strategy actually looks and feels like.
And look, this isn't just about bad PowerPoints. This kind of bad strategy is genuinely harmful. It leads to so much wasted time and money, a ton of confusion, and worst of all, a total failure to actually tackle the real challenges an organization is facing. It gives you the illusion of having a plan without any of the actual direction.
So how do you spot it in the wild? Well, Rumelt gives us this fantastic little checklist. First, you've got fluff. That's just like the NEC statement, big, fancy words that sound strategic but are basically meaningless. Second, a failure to face the challenge. If you can't clearly state the problem, you don't have a strategy. Third, mistaking goals for strategy. Saying our goal is to grow by 20% is an ambition, not a plan for how you're going to get there. And finally, my personal favorite, bad strategic objectives. This is that classic laundry list of 10 top priorities, which just means nothing is a priority and everyone runs in different directions.
You know, when you boil it all down, bad strategy is really about avoiding tough choices. It's often a political document that's designed to make every department feel included. But by trying to be everything to everyone, it ends up being nothing. Real strategy demands focus, and focus means having the guts to say no. It means saying no to some good ideas so you can pour all your energy into the few that are absolutely critical.
Okay, so that's the problem. But here is the really good news. There is an antidote to all of this madness. It's what Rumelt calls the kernel of good strategy, and honestly, it is so simple and so powerful. This right here is the big aha moment. Good strategy isn't some dark art. It's not a 200-page binder that nobody reads. It actually has a very clear, very logical structure. And that structure is made up of just 3 key parts.
And here it is. The kernel. It's that simple. Number 1, a diagnosis. What's actually going on? What's the real challenge we're facing? Number 2, a guiding policy. This is our overall approach, our game plan for dealing with that challenge. And number 3, a set of coherent actions. These are the specific, coordinated moves we're going to make to put that policy into action.
Let's dig into that for a second. The diagnosis isn't just a list of facts or data. It's a judgment call. It's about looking at the messy, complex reality of a situation and saying, okay, out of all this noise, this is the critical thing we have to solve. It simplifies the problem down to its core.
Then you have the guiding policy. The best analogy for this is guardrails on a highway. The policy doesn't tell you exactly when to turn the wheel or hit the brakes, but it creates a channel. It keeps you on the road and moving in the right general direction, and it automatically rules out 1,000 other paths you could take.
And finally, we have coherent actions. Now, the key word here is coherent. This can't just be a random to-do list where marketing does one thing and engineering does another. The actions have to lock together. They need to reinforce each other, creating a kind of chain reaction where the combined effect is way more powerful than any single action on its own.
And that idea of coherence, that's where the magic really is. Because when all your actions are aligned and working together, you create this incredible focus and momentum. You build a system that is incredibly difficult for your competitors to copy.
And there is no better example of this in action than the legendary turnaround of Apple. By the late 90s, the company was just months from bankruptcy. They were bleeding cash and they were drowning in a sea of confusing products. It was a textbook case of bad strategy.
So under the CEO at the time, Gil Amelio, the strategy was to just keep adding more divisions, more projects. It just created chaos. Then Steve Jobs comes back, and he doesn't walk in with some grand, fluffy new vision statement. He does the exact opposite. He made a few brutal, coherent choices based on a clear diagnosis. He took a sprawling mess of a product line and cut it down to just a handful of incredible products. It's a perfect example of the power you get when you actually make a choice.
So let's map this right back to the kernel. Jobs' diagnosis was crystal clear. Apple was dying because its product line was a bloated, confusing disaster. His guiding policy was to refocus every ounce of the company's talent on making just a few truly great products. And his coherent action was to kill everything else. Simple, brutal, and it absolutely worked.
You see the same thing with Walmart's rise to power. Any competitor could try to copy one piece of what they do, right? They could copy their data collection or maybe their logistics network, but the real power isn't in any single piece. It's in how they all fit together. The sales data instantly feeds the logistics system, which enables just-in-time delivery, which lets them keep inventory low, which is what supports those everyday low prices. It's a coherent system. Each piece makes the others stronger.
So, the big question is, how do you take this and apply it in your own work? How can you get better at spotting the difference between a real strategy and a fake one?
Well, here's a really simple way to think about it. The fundamental difference is focus. A good strategy always starts by zeroing in on a specific challenge, and then it applies a focused, coherent set of actions to overcome it. Bad strategy does the exact opposite. It starts with vague goals, then throws a disconnected laundry list of projects at the wall hoping something sticks, and all that does is create waste and confusion.
So, if there is one thing to take away from all this, it's this. Stop chasing these big, abstract, fluffy visions. Instead, get brutally honest about the single biggest challenge that's standing in your way. Diagnose it clearly, and then design a smart, focused, and coherent plan of attack to beat it. That, right there, is the heart of good strategy.
So I'm going to leave you with a question to think about. What is the single most critical challenge that your team or your company is really facing right now? Seriously, think about it, because answering that question honestly is the first and by far the most important step toward building a strategy that actually works.